are faster than the cars were 2 years ago. Where's the speed coming from?
Well, I think the rules are trying to slow the cars at the moment. We had a rule change at the end of last year. We'll have another one at the end of this year. It's a permanent battle in Formula One where you have the best engineers at work who will always be able, with their financial background, to make the cars quicker, to then again change regulations and slow them down. I think Indy racing is in the same situation, you know, and it's very normal.
Well, one of the problems that is arising from this speed, of course, is tire wear. In the French Grand Prix, you had to make a pit stop for tires, and you still came out and finished second. Are you going to be able to go the distance here on one set of tires?
It really doesn't matter. I couldn't care less how many times I have to stop as long as I do well in the race.
So you're looking for a victory, even with a pit stop, possibly?
Well, I hope we do well in the race. I don't know if it's going to be victory or what it's going to be like, but, you know, I'm on good tires, and I'll plan my race depending on what compound I run and how we want to do it. Pit stops are not a handicap. They can work to your advantage.
It's a question of speed and economy in motorsport, and we've seen on our live coverage of Grand Prix racing with ESPN this year, a lot of cars run out of gas. We saw the Grand Prix of San Marino. That was a problem, and we might well see the same kind of trouble here. Fuel consumption is going to be a problem. They're going to have to turn down the boost a little bit. 1,000 horsepower in qualifying here during this weekend. For the race today, they'll be doing 700 to 800 horsepower, but still, economy is going to play an enormous part.
Well, we've been talking to several of the team managers, and it's going to be a fine line between how much power these drivers can use and how far they can go. It's going to go right down to the line, just like it did in Imola.
We'll be back for more of the Marlboro British Grand Prix. The British Grand Prix is brought to you by Chevrolet, who invites you to see today's Chevy, drive today's Chevy, live today's Chevy. And by Skoal Bandits, tobacco in a neat little pouch. It's a little pouch of tobacco pleasure. And by BF Goodrich, makers of high-performance TA radios. We make cars perform. United States of America, that you're looking at a live shot from England in the Midlands of Great Britain. The British Grand Prix being held at this disused airfield, Silverstone. You're looking at the starting grid of this Marlboro British Grand Prix. The weather is fair, but overcast with some rather heavy clouds. In the last 2 days, it hasn't been too nice, the weather. Let's have a look at the starting grid. On pole position is Keke Rosberg, driving his Williams Honda. In the front row with them, Nelson Piquet from Brazil with the Olivetti BMW Brabham. Then Alain Prost with the Marlboro Tag McLaren is third fastest, with Ayrton Senna, the young Brazilian, and the John Player Lotus with the Renault engine fourth fastest, and fifth fastest time is Nigel Mansell with the other Williams Honda. Michele Alboreto is the first Ferrari on the grid. He's sixth fastest. Seventh fastest, a surprise to most people, Andrea De Cesare driving the Ligier with the Renault engine. And eighth fastest, Elio De Angelis, who's driving his backup car because he had an accident this morning, came in contact with Minardi on the main straight of all places, wrote off his chassis, and he's in a backup car. And incidentally, Keke Rosberg is also driving his backup car. He had an engine failure on the warm-up this morning. Ninth fastest is Theo Fabi. 10th fastest is Niki Lauda, making up the top 10. Then Stefan Johansson, the second Ferrari driver, with Derek Warwick, 12th fastest in the Renault. 13th is Tambi, his teammate, with Patrese in the Alfa Romeo at 14th fastest. Mark Schuler from Switzerland with the Brabham and the Olivetti colours is 15th. 16th is Jacques Lafitte with the Ligier Renault. 17th is Gerhard Berger as they move off for their one lap of warm-up. 18th is Winkelhock with the Skoal Bandit. He's 18th fastest. 19th, Terry Boutsen. 20th is Martin Brundle, carrying Dow Chemical identification on his insurance brokers, a porcelain company name in England. Alio is 21st fastest, and the other Skoal Bandit. Eddie Cheever, the American driver, is way back in 22nd position, not very suitable for him. Martini and the Minardi car is 23rd fastest. 24th is Jonathan Palmer, Dr. Jonathan Palmer, in the West Zakspeed. 25th fastest, the last row of the grid, Kinzani and the Ocello, who just got here in No More. 26th sixth fastest, making up the last on the grid, is Beloff. And that's the trouble you see on the grid there was the Renault-engined Tyrrell, which has now found its way away. Martin Brundle making his way around. He'll catch them up. He'll be all right. And that's the grid.
It's always sad to see a new development car like that have a bit of a trouble right on the grid, Jackie. Martin Brundle, a British driver here. The British crowd very much hoping that he does well, and he has done well in qualifying, actually. And there he is, very frustrated, sitting, waiting to take off after 3 days of qualifying and testing and to be left on the grid. But
well, they're weaving up and down the hangar straight there as they go into Stowe Corner. The grandstands all the way around this beautiful flat racetrack. It's a racetrack, of course, that is to some people sort of dull in a way. It's 2.9 miles. It's almost 3 miles around, and that weaving, as we've recognized before for our American viewers, Grand Prix racing is to warm up the tires. They come around Club Corner now. And John, this racetrack is one of the fastest in the world, as we've already recognized in our opening.
Exactly. Boring it may not be for the drivers, because they are reaching speeds of near on 210, 212 miles an hour. And as we said earlier, Keke Rosberg was the first man to average 160 miles an hour around here. Now, to some of the Yanks, that might seem a bit slow when they look at Indianapolis average speeds of over 200 miles an hour. But remember, in some of these turns, they are all the way down into third gear, maybe doing a mere 65, 55 miles an hour. But still, well, a third gear here can go up to 85 miles an hour, but still, a 160 mile an hour average is pretty good around here.
Well, 160 mile an hour average, keep in mind, would be faster than the average of the Indy 500. So you're looking at a race that may well be faster than the average of the Indy 500. Not as many pit stops here, although the big story here is fuel consumption. Can those guys keep the power boost up in their turbos to give them good fuel consumption and good power? That's going to be the balance here. Ayrton Senna in the yellow helmet coming through there. There you see the Ferrari of Alboreto, number 27. Keke Rosberg on the left-hand side of your screen. That is pole position. It's a right-hand bend. It's the first bend that they're going to face. And the starting grid is actually on a bend here, which is extremely unusual. This is at the chicane of Silverstone. People are cleaning the grid now. You will see in the top corner of your television set in a few moments a set of lights. When the red light goes on, that is to say that they're under starter's orders, and 10 seconds after that, and the red light is on, and they're off. Keke Rosberg gets away. Nelson Piquet and Niki Lauda's made a slow start. Rosberg's away, but Ayrton Senna's taking the lead. Can he get past? No. And Ayrton Senna takes the lead with Keke Rosberg second. Alan Prost looks like he's done the car. Spun in the first corner. We've had a spin out. And one of the Ferraris, it looks like Johansson's Ferrari is out, and one of the Renaults is out. That is Johansson's Ferrari that is off the road. The Renault with the wheel off looks like it might be Warwick. We'll have a look in a second. We can't see at this distance. He's driving the car away in the interest of safety. Patrick Tambay. Minardi is the last car up, but there Keke Rosberg comes alongside now. Ayrton Senna taking the fast line now, leaving Keke Rosberg without any draft and aerodynamics as they go through Stowe Corner, the end of Hangar Straight. Head towards Club Corner. This the first lap of this Grand Prix of Great Britain. Nigel Mansell's well up kicked, and Alan Prost is well up. So our first lap incident.
It was lucky, Jackie, that first corner, even from a standing start, they're entering that corner at a good 85, maybe 90 miles an hour. And the cars are very close on that first lap, and it's certainly the most dangerous lap of the race. But here coming into finishing the first lap through the chicane, and it's Ayrton Senna and the Lotus leading the pack. There's the teammate, Haley Alboreto, here through clean. This is one of the heavy braking points on the circuit. A lot of passing going on in through here. Back up to speeds again. And again, you can see Martin Brundle trying to make up some time from being left on the grid.
Well, they're coming through there now through Beckett's corner. It is the slowest corner on the racetrack. It's a third gear corner. They file through there, and the car already going slowly, and it's one of the back markers from the earlier on. There's Senna leading, then there's Rosberg, then there's Mansell, then there's Alan Prost, then there's De Cesare, and then there's Nelson Piquet. There's a little bit of passing coming up. The Ferrari is coming up with, alongside it right now, Elio De Angelis passes Alboreto going into there. Then there's Warwick. And then there is Patrese. And again, Ayrton Senna closes the door. There is oil on the racetrack round there. There was a streak of oil. And you'll find that one of the cars have blown an engine. I could see a black mark down the racetrack. And that was oil being dropped.
From our vantage point here in the announcing booth, we can see that Stefan Johansson has at least completed a lap and making it back into the pits. We don't know if he'll be ready to rejoin the race, but there, Andrea Di Trezza is coming around Alain Prost. That is also a Pirelli-shod car. So Pirelli is certainly doing quite well here this afternoon. All lined up, getting through the chicane very safely, with the Soul Bandit bringing up the back of the field.
Ayrton Senna, surprisingly, being able to stay ahead of Keke Rosberg, who should have an advantage on power on this extremely fast circuit. A great job being done by Elio De Angelis. Then Alboreto behind that. There you see Keke Rosberg on the left-hand side of your screen. The right-hand side going into this fast corner, Ayrton Senna. Then you see Nigel Mansell. Then De Cesaris. Then Alain Prost. Alain Prost touching the ground. That's where the sparks were. That's Piquet. Then there's De Angelis. Then there's Alboreto. Then there's Warwick. And then there is Fabi.
Jackie, the reason these cars are sparking now, of course, is because they're under full load of fuel. And Silverstone is not a particularly bumpy circuit, but still in several places you'll see the bottom of the chassis making contact with the tarmac and can allow a great deal of sparks going on. But as the race continues, the cars will become lighter and that will stop happening.
Well, in fact, it is the world's smoothest racetrack, and here we see a replay of that first lap action. The Ferrari has already spun, and the incident's already occurred because Patrick Tambay's wheel is already off. You can see it, a lot of cars very wide on the outside there, and look at that coming together there. That looks like Martin Brundle that went up into the air there with the Renault-powered Tyrrell. Their sponsors only coming in for this, the British Grand Prix, Porcelain Insurance Brokers. My goodness, they needed a little insurance right there. The lead remains the same. Ayrton Senna and Keke Rosberg drawing away from Nigel Mansell. Nigel Mansell has recovered from a heavy accident that he had 2 weeks ago at the Paul Ricard circuit in the south of France for the Grand Prix of France. Senna has led a lot of races this year. He's been on the pole a lot, but he's only finished in one race. In that race, he won the Grand Prix of Portugal in Lisbon in torrential rain conditions.
In talking to Ayrton yesterday, we also discussed his accident at Paul Ricard, which is well over 200 miles an hour, when he went through the catch fencing after his engine exploded and really hit into the tire wall at well over 100 miles an hour. And he says, yes, you do think of those things. Even when you're racing here around Silverstone, you cannot totally put that type of an experience out of your head within 2 weeks.
Well, Ayrton Senna at this time leading the Marlboro British Grand Prix from Keke Rosberg. It's a fuel consumption race. They'll be looking after the power, and so will we, and we'll be right back. Coverage of the Grand Prix of Britain, and there you see a replay of the accident that happened on the very first corner of the first lap, and there you see what happens now. One of the Renaults gets out of line and it spins, and at that point the accident started to take new dimensions. As the car spun out there, it came in contact with one of the Ferraris, whose wheel came off, and then there was another incident a little further back. You see the car of Johansson. Since we have seen this replay, Johansson has been in the pit. The race continues, and here you see Ayrton Senna still leading this Grand Prix, with Keke Rosberg, in my opinion, satisfied to stay in second place right now. The Honda-engined Williams has got a better fuel economy factor built in than the Renault-engined John Player Lotus, in my opinion. Although Senna certainly seems to be extending the lead. You see the order, Senna, Rosberg, De Cesaris, and that's a big move for him, driving the Ligier Renault. Mansell, Prost, and Piquet making up the sixth top. And look at this race that's going on right now. That is, the blue car is De Cesaris. Then you've got the Renault in there.
Nigel Mansell is in there.
He's dropped back. Nigel Mansell's in the middle of that, so De Cesaris is past Mansell, and then you have Alain Prost. That's Keke Rosberg with the blue and white crash helmet. Honda certainly come a long way in their power plants this year.
You know, Jackie, you said that this is the smoothest racetrack in Formula One. It must also be the widest. And in some of these positions, you'll see 3 cars abreast going down the back straightaway. That must be a little bit confusing for the guy in the middle to actually know what is going on both sides of him at the same time.
It does look here, by the way, just incidentally, that Mansell's having trouble because De Cesare has passed him. Now Alan Prost has passed him, and that is Mansell in that yellow-fronted car with the ICI identification. It's the Honda Williams, but he seems to be dropping back. It is a wide circuit because, remember, this is an old airfield. The airfield was built in 1940. It was a bomber training squadron that was here during World War II. It's got 3 runways. The first British Grand Prix was run here in 1948, and it was then the home of the British Grand Prix. That year was won by Luigi Villoresi driving a Maserati. And here we have the Jonathan Palmer, the Zaxby car, the West Zaxby car. Very bad luck all year for Palmer. The car has never done too well. Looks like it's over for him for the day.
Maybe I should explain, when you see a race car driver get out of the cockpit holding the steering wheel, it's not because it has actually come off. The cockpits are so cramped that the steering wheel is removable to allow the driver to get in and out more freely. So it's not that the wheel came off and that's why he stopped.
So Ayrton Senna comes out of Hangar Straight, which is 2,329 feet in length. So there you see Rosberg has now done the fastest lap in a time of 1:13.379, which is a lot slower than the 1 minute 5 seconds that he did in qualifying. And of course the reason for that is simply that in qualifying they got special tires and of course special engines. Ayrton Senna. Now Ayrton's a big story. Ayrton Senna has been involved in crashes in his last 2 races, in fact. The crash in the French Grand Prix resulted in him totally wrecking his Lotus. Now John Vigignano earlier asked Ayrton how this in fact occurred.
Ayrton, a very high-speed accident in Circuit Paul Ricard. What happened?
The engine blew through the end of the straight line, and when I just got into the corner, the oil light came in, and the oil was just spread from the engine to the rear tire, and the car just went, and I just waited until it stopped.
At a moment like that, well over 200 miles an hour, what goes through your heart or mind? I mean, what's the emotions of going through such a thing?
Well, at that moment, as soon as the car spun and I was going backwards, I was just waiting to stop. There was nothing I could do. I just held myself as much as I could inside the cockpit, waiting for a big impact, and until it stopped.
Okay, so here you are at Silverstone with the same optimum speeds here that the accident happened in Circuit Paul Ricard. Do you think about that at 200 miles an hour down Hangar Straight here?
Yeah, it's not so much at Hangar Straight. I think Club Corner is more dangerous because the wall is closer. And once you are on the corner, if you lose the car, it's very heavy impact. Much more than Sims or any other track. So I think every time that you come to Club, you think about it, for sure.
It hasn't slowed you down too much, Ayrton.
Well, you either try or you don't. You can think about, but you always try. Otherwise, you just stay on the pit lane.
We're back live at the Marlborough British Grand Prix here in the Midlands of England at an old disused airfield called Silverstone. You're looking at the leaderboard, and you're not looking at the leaders right now. That's Beloff and the Tyrrell that you're looking at with the only Ford-engine power plant in here. And there goes our leader, Ayrton Senna. Ayrton Senna got a handsome lead. That's Beloff, who's driving the Tyrrell car with the Ford engine. Look how Senna has opened up the gap. Just since we've been away for that commercial message, That's Senna. Then there's Beloff, and now there is Keke Rosberg on the top left-hand side of your screen there as he went out of picture. Ayrton Senna has taken on a very healthy lead here, and it would seem that the Renault power plant is working very well. It does, however, seem to me that Rosberg, John, has turned down the boost to go for fuel economy. We speculated about this before the race, and it seems that it's happening.
Only minutes before the start, the Honda computers were working overtime to try and work out the exact distance and how much boost they could use under these weather conditions. So it looks quite fabulous for Ayrton Senna to be thrusting ahead here, but he has run out of gas in several races even so far this season, exactly when he was in the lead in Imola. He did not cross the line. He was one of 4 people who ran out of fuel there. So Ayrton may be enjoying a great breathing spell here, but this is where a driver has to calculate not only his own driving ability and his car, but he has to calculate exactly where he wants to be towards the end of the race. And Jackie, this is why the drivers are a little bit upset with the fuel rule. They feel that they can't go out and race.
Well, we're here at Silverstone. We're live with ESPN. We're at the British Grand Prix, and we'll be back. We're back live in Silverstone in England for the Grand Prix of Great Britain. You're looking at Alain Prost, who at the present time is in 3rd place and is catching up on Keke Rosberg. He had a little bit of trouble getting past Andrea De Cesare. He's now, however, still a long way behind this man, who is Ayrton Senna, driving the John Player Special, the Lotus with the Renault engine, who is still ahead of Keke Rosberg, and a clear amount of road he has ahead of him. Through the left-hander. Very fast racetrack, as we keep reminding you about this Silverstone track. It goes through a fast left-hander. And Elio De Angelis is heading for the pit. At a very slow speed, John. It looks like he's very slow indeed.
Well, that's sad. Elio qualified quite well, and of course he's 2nd in the championship right now. Elio De Angelis last year finishing 3rd in the championship and was sitting 2nd, tied with Alain Prost. He needs every point he can get, and Jackie, to me it looks like an engine failure, actually.
Yeah, he's stopped. He's had trouble. Now he's getting outside assistance, so in any case he would chances are be disqualified. So that looks like the end of the race, or at least heavily penalized he would be if he was given outside assistance, unless it was in the interest of safety. His own teammate goes flashing past. That's Ayrton Senna. The World Championship standings, incidentally, World Championship standings after the French Grand Prix, I might tell you, Alboreto is still in the lead with 31 points. 2nd is Elio De Angelis, who has just, it would seem, almost retired from this race. He's equal 2nd with Alain Prost with 26 points against Alboreto's 31. 4th is Keke Rosberg with 18 points, and that's the man you're looking at right now. Stefan Johansson has got 16 points, and he is out of this race. And then Patrick Tambay, who also had an accident with Johansson on the very first corner of the first lap, is in 6th position in the World Championship with 11 points. Prost has now done the fastest lap with a 1 minute 11.966, which indeed is 146 miles an hour average. He is catching Keke Rosberg for 2nd place, and you see how close he is now. Certainly he's on to Keke Rosberg, and Rosberg is, in my opinion, not driving quite as hard as he perhaps could. John, not only is it fuel consumption here, but it's tires. They've got to conserve their tires because tire temperatures get hot, and therefore the tire performance goes off. So it could be Rosberg is saving those tires.
Especially after the French Grand Prix, Jackie. He was sitting 2nd with this exact picture, actually, with Prost all over him, and his tires were going off. He had to slide. He had to use the car, a little bit of oversteer, understeer to stay ahead of Prost, and very soon after that, he was in tire trouble. It's a very disturbing thing for a driver to be out there at these speeds, especially the wide sweeping bends, and know that his tires are not generating the grip they should. In talking to Keke earlier, actually, we asked him about the tires, and he said he was going to try and make the race without a complete pit stop, but even if he had to stop, he would be charging back up into the point.
Well, there's our leaderboard. Ayrton Senna remains the leader with Rosberg 2nd, Prost 3rd, De Cesare 4th, Mansell is still 5th, and Niki Lauda is 6th. But I think we're going to see a pass almost any moment now. You're going to see Alain Prost stalking him. You're going to see him choose his place, and you're going to see him overtaking. And that would put Alain Prost into second position. Keep in mind the World Championships that I just mentioned. For first place, you get 9 points, and for second place, you get 6 points. Is he going to try it under braking? Is he doing it? And he's done it. Prost decisively passes for a second place right now. Very clean. Keke Rosberg did not try to block him. He let him through. He knew he was coming. And I think you will find that Alain Prost may well have a different set of tyres on. There's different compounds that they can choose in these situations. And you can choose a harder compound, and it did seem that McLaren were going to go for Bs all the way around. That's quite a soft compound all the way around.
It's the second softest compound available, Jackie. So they have definitely started this race with a soft compound.
And however, and here we see this pass again in slow motion. Alain Prost on the right-hand side of your screen there with the red and white car passes very clearly. He uses the road. Keke Rosberg does not attempt to block him. This is the chicane at Woodcote Corner, and we're on the left-hand side high up on that tower there in our commentary position. As the now Ayrton Senna comes into Woodcote Corner, passing one of the slower cars. In fact, it is Patrese and the Benetton car.
Jackie, that Woodcote Corner, that was one of your favorite corners before it became a chicane. This was a flat-out corner in Formula One when they didn't have the aerodynamics and the tires that they have now. The Woodcote Corner was one of your favorite places in motor racing, wasn't it, Jackie?
Well, it was fast. It certainly was one of the more frightening corners. Silverstone in general is very fast in any case. That was Theo Fabi, in fact. So this is the Silverstone track you're looking at. Again, ESPN give you live coverage of the Grand Prix World Championship Series, and we'll be right back.
This is allowing them, this is Niki Lauda coming through, maybe this is allowing them to keep the boost up and go ahead and make a challenge through the field, Jackie. That fuel management system is certainly one of the most efficient in Formula One.
Well, since we were away on that last commercial break, Nigel Mansell came into the pits. He had problem, and Niki Lauda registered that fastest lap, and by doing so has got himself up into 5th position. So therefore the order now is Senna, Prost, Rosberg, De Cesare, and I think you'll see Niki Lauda stalking him, then Niki Lauda, then Piquet, and then Alboreto.
You got to remember that on the first lap, Niki Lauda came around in 18th position, so he's gone from 18th position to 5 positions here in the first 20% of the race.
And the car ahead of him right now is Andrea De Cesare. That's the blue car, the Ligier car with the Renault engine, and Niki Lauda, of course, driving the McLaren chassis with the Tag Porsche engine in it.
It's actually quite a battle, Jackie, because we're having Pirelli tires against Goodyear tires. We're having a French chassis against a British chassis, an Austrian driver against an Italian driver. Here's Nigel Mansell being interviewed by the BBC down in the pits. Nigel also having an accident yesterday, last race, and trying to recover from that accident. Same place that Ayrton Senna had his accident.
Well, there you see Keke Rosberg, who is now in 3rd position. And there you see the battle for 4th and 5th. Niki Lauda, the present, is in 5th position, carrying the number 1 on his car because, of course, he is the reigning world champion, and McLaren are the Constructors' Championship. The number on the car, in fact, relates not to the order of the Drivers' World Championship, but to the order of the Constructors' World Championship.
And the Constructors' World Championship is something that the teams take for great pride. They take it a great pride. All the mechanics, all the designers, everyone is this great team effort. And the Constructors' Championship is something that they look forward to as much as the Drivers' Championship. And there goes Alain Prost past one of the markers. That's your old team there, the Tyrrell car being passed. Ayrton Senna coming up on the other Renault-powered Tyrrell. And Jackie, you had a chance.
Keke Rosberg is smoking.
He is smoking badly and slowing down.
It looked to me like Keke Rosberg was smoking. Now, if that happens, we've got a whole new ball game here, and it will be disappointing for Rosberg. They're looking for him out on the racetrack. and I think they may look longer than they anticipated. You see there that Niki Lauda has passed Andrea De Cesare, so that's a big thing for him. De Cesare is now relegated. Lauda's got himself into 4th place, and there you see he's just done that maneuver. So Niki Lauda looking in his mirrors as he comes down Hangar Straight, 2,300 feet long. Again, that McLaren touching the bottom, the sparks coming from underneath the car through Stowe Corner.
The McLaren seemed to be bottling more than the other cars, and that indicates a soft chassis setup, and there is Keke Rosberg's car. Keke there on the left-hand side of the screen, just walking out of camera. He's perfectly all right, walking back to the pits. Emotionally, he might be a little upset, but Keke Rosberg pulled off the track, obviously with a motor failure. That's both Williams out of the race.
Well, Honda have put in a lot of work, and that work has been successful in the last couple of races, but today, not so good.
Jackie, the Pirelli team of engineers have also been doing a great job. Nelson Piquet finally becoming competitive at the French Grand Prix, winning it decisively. You had a chance to actually ask the manager and director of development for Pirelli, Mario Monrosetti, about how they got things right at the Pirelli tire compound.
It's very simple because we test in the winter, during the winter in Kyalami, in Brazil with very hot weather, in the very fast circuit as well. So unfortunately, the first Grand Prix, apart from Brazil, where Nelson broke the car after 2 laps, I will say, all the rest was done on the very cold circuit, slow circuit, not abrasive, and with a very low downforce on the car. As soon as Paul Ricard was the first high-speed circuit with very hot weather and very abrasive condition, and automatically the results of the test that we got in South Africa becomes out.
Now here at Silverstone, the temperatures are not warm, but the racetrack is fast. Is it compounds that you have found the success on?
Yes, parts of those, but even because we did the last test in Nürburgring in Germany last week, and we tuned the construction and the compound for such kind of the weather as well.
So we can see more from Pirelli in the future?
I hope so.
We're back live at Silverstone. The story of Pirelli there. Of course, Goodyear very heavily involved in racing, and in fact has won the large majority of races this year. In fact, they've pretty much dominated Grand Prix racing until this last French Grand Prix victory they had. The car you're looking at right now, Alain Prost, incidentally, is catching up on Ayrton Senna, and in fact, of course, Senna and Prost are very much on Goodyear tires. So it's quite a tire battle, and of course it's very interesting to have competition in racing. I think it's healthy, and I think Goodyear would probably join me in saying that it's rather good that Pirelli have turned around to be competitive in the fashion that they have over these last 2 Grand Prix. Alain Prost in the number 2 car there, in second position as it is.
Jackie, in talking to Leo Mel, who's the director of Goodyear Racing, of course, he actually told me that they wanted Pirelli to start pushing them a little harder, and they're certainly doing it here as they did in France, because that is what keeps their engineers on their toes. But I'll tell you, when I saw the Goodyear boys climbing on their airplane out of France 2 weeks ago, they looked like a high school football team who had just lost the World Championship. These people take it very seriously. They're a bunch of Yanks that come over here all over the world out of Akron, Ohio. There we have the leaderboard. Senna having quite a demanding lead, but Alain Prost cutting it down every single lap. Alain Prost is getting closer to Senna. Niki Lauda, his teammate, has done a fantastic job of driving through the field. De Cesare showed great speed in the early opening parts of this race, but he seems to be slowing down with Nelson Piquet coming up on him, also with Pirelli tires.
Well, it might interest you to know that Prost is only 4.98 seconds behind Ayrton Senna. So we'll be giving more coverage in just a few moments. We're back live, and there you see Alain Prost slipping past the car of the young Swiss driver, Marc Surer, as he's not in contention. It's being lapped by Alain Prost, and there's our leader just going out of your screen, and there Alain Prost in your screen. Now that shows you how close Prost has come. There has been a real effort by this Tag McLaren team, because Prost, there you see him getting into the picture as Certain just gets out of it. Senna driving the Lotus, there he is with the yellow helmet, and then you will see very soon Alain Prost coming into the picture. Both cigarette companies, incidentally. It's a real battle of the cigarettes here. Marlboro sponsoring the Prost car, and of course the Senna car being sponsored by John Players, the cigarette manufacturers. You're looking at Alboreto and his Ferrari, who's up to 6th position. But the story of the race so far, unquestionably, John, must surely be Niki Lauda, who has come from 18th position, is now in 3rd.
Well, that's what Niki Lauda does best, is pass other cars. But still, we've only gone about 30% into this race, and Niki Lauda going from a very bad start, coming around in 18th position and now back up into 3rd is even amazing for the amazing Niki Lauda. Only 4.3 seconds difference between 1st and 2nd place now. Michele Alboreto there, his teammate went out in the 1st corner. A short race for Stefan Johansson. Stefan Johansson, of course, was the driver earlier this year who got his big break and was called by the Ferrari team. He was out of a job, or actually driving for any team he could get. And he's certainly done a good job up until now. I think Ferrari will understand how close things were down in the 1st corner and give Stefan all the room to improve throughout the entire season. Again, Michele Alboreto, we got to remember now, he's leading the World Championship at this point. He has, going into this race, only 4-point lead over his competition, and in 6th place, he has 1 point if he finished in that particular position. So he has to try. He cannot really waste a particular race. He has to try and get as many points as possible with such a small lead in the World Championship. These points become a very real thing for these drivers. Keke Rosberg, as you can see, is back into the pit and doing an interview there. He looks like Keke certainly is a little upset with himself.
I was able to hang on to Senna, but then if I would have kept his speed, I would have been destroyed by tires. It was better to sort of run my own pace.
We'll be right back from Silverstone, England, ESPN Auto Racing 85.
Very difficult after two such...
This is Jackie Stewart along with John Bisignano at Silverstone for the Marlboro British Grand Prix. The graphic you're looking at in your screen is to tell you that Niki Lauda won this year, the last Grand Prix here 2 years ago. Well, Niki Lauda won, actually, the British Grand Prix last year, which was at Brands Hatch. Alain Prost won the Grand Prix before that. That was at Silverstone. And then Niki Lauda, the previous year, also won the British Grand Prix, which happened to be at Brands Hatch, because Silverstone and Brands Hatch flip-flop the Grand Prix every year. A real traffic jam going on in there as Stefan Bellof stays well out of the way there in the Tyrrell, as he allows the race leader, who is being caught up angrily there by the red and white car of Alain Prost. Let's have a look at this. The yellow helmet is that of Ayrton Senna. He doesn't know where to get past here. Nobody's letting him pass. Ooh! He was chopped off by Jacques Lafitte driving the Ligier. In between is Derek Warwick in the Renault, and then there is Alain Prost. So there's your race leader right there, and he's got to find a way past Jacques Lafitte in the Ligier as they go through this Abbey curve very fast in 5th gear, accelerating up towards the Woodcut chicane. He's going to slip past as he does there, under braking, coming through underneath the bridge there, over 200 miles an hour. Goes through Alain Prost, the red and white car there in your picture. You can see he is less now than a second behind him, and he is in fact in the picture. I can see Alain Prost is going to take the lead of this race, and I hate to say it, but John Bisignano chose Alain Prost to win this race in the lottery.
The biggest reason you hate to say it, Jack, is because we have 5 pounds on it, but still.
That may not be a lot to Americans, but to a wee Scotsman, it's a fortune. I must say that our producer also chose Alain Prost to win this race.
But Ayrton Senna is still in the leading board here, #1 position, and there, of course, both McLarens, 2 and 3. It must be terribly frustrating for Senna to come into a traffic situation like that. He has to be careful because the other cars are also racing one another. Jacques Lafitte and Derek Warwick are trying to secure positions over one another. They simply can't disappear and let the leaders by. Now, when you see the blue flags off to the side being waved at these drivers, that's to let them know to look in their mirrors and to be conscious that the leaders or a faster car is coming up on them. And here comes Alain Prost. The brakes on this McLaren are working fantastic. Going into that chicane alone, it looked like he gained half a car length. Number 1 and number 2, there you see the difference is only 1.5 seconds. Alain Prost coming in on Senna. I think Senna has maybe a little bit of power advantage, but certainly McLaren has always been fantastic handling chassis these last 3 years. But on the brakes, Jackie, I think on the brakes, that's where these McLarens have been doing most of their passing, is into the slower corners down from maximum speeds.
Well, of course, the point is here that it depends on how much turbo boost they have loaded onto the engine as to how fast they're going. If fuel consumption is something very much in Ayrton Senna's mind, they will have cut down the brake horsepower in order to save fuel. On the other hand, the fuel management program that the McLaren TAG have is probably more sophisticated. There you see the Lotus going through Abbey Curve there. 5-speed gearbox being used. He'll be in 5th gear right there. He'll be dropping it now into 3rd gear. Going through the chicane in 3rd, accelerating. Grabbing 4th gear about now. Accelerating along towards Cox Corner. On this 3-mile circuit. Into Cox, probably again in 3rd gear. Into 4th gear. Going through Madgwick now. Getting into 5th gear now, in top gear. Maggots, that was, now into Beckett's, a 3rd gear corner, braking hard, accelerating away from Beckett's corner into Chapel Curve, that's a left-hander, going on to the main hangar straight, that's 2,300 feet in length, getting up to a speed of about 195, 196 miles an hour before Stowe Corner, 4th gear for Stowe Corner. Very smooth to go through here. Don't slide the car. Don't get the tire temperatures up to Club Corner. My brother had a crash here in Club Corner, turned a D-type Jaguar upside down a number of years ago. Going through Club now and heading back to Abbey Curve in 5th gear by now. Heading down towards this bridge, the Daily Express Bridge, going through that around 200 miles an hour. Now look how close Alain Prost is to that Lotus. Lotus with carbon fiber brakes, as also is the Lotus. Carbon fiber brakes now playing a very large part. As you see our leaderboard, Senna, Prost, Lauda, De Cesaris in 4th position there. Coming up in Martini. Martini is a man who they all want to avoid. Came in collision this morning with Elio De Angelis on the main straight, and they both crashed and wrote off their cars. And they got through there as they head down again. Here they come into Hangar Straight. And there you see the yellow helmet cocking to the side, just looking in these rear view mirrors, just to be able to see. And Prost is still bottoming, still sparks coming out of that car. The British Grand Prix, ESPN's coverage will continue in a moment. We're back live at Silverstone for the Marlborough British Grand Prix. The 2 cars in your picture, high in the skies of Britain there looking down, is the John Player Special driven by Ayrton Senna. The black car on the right-hand side, followed by the red and white car of Alain Prost. He was much closer than that when we left for our commercial, but he did in fact attempt to pass coming into the Woodcote chicane, and by so doing lost some ground on Ayrton Senna. I think you will see that ground again being regained, and I think within about 3 or 4 laps Alain Prost will again be haunting that black car of young Brazilian Ayrton Senna.
You know, Jackie, also, this whole scene reminds me of when I was standing here at trackside way back in 1969, and you were not in a red and white car. You were in a beautiful Tyrrell Matra, and the man in front of you was Jochen Rindt, who was also in a Lotus. Many people refer to that as one of the greatest Formula One battles of all times. What's it like to be trying to eat away just every 10th of a second at a car in front of you like that, Jackie?
Well, Silverstone's a very good example of how smooth you've got to be, how clean a driver you've got to be, and how well you've got to work traffic, because if you lose time, it's difficult to make it up again. Jochen and I had a great battle. I was lucky enough to go on and win the race. but it was really because Jochen had a problem in that event. He had one of the aerofoil side plates come off of the rear wing, and it kept touching the rear wheel. I drew alongside him, luckily, and was able to tell him about it. He was a good friend. He called into the pits. He didn't doubt my judgment. He got it changed, went back out. Would have finished second easily, but in fact then ran out of petrol, had to go back in the pits. But that was a great battle. Silverstone is a place where the really smooth, clean drivers perform at their best. And the two drivers that you're looking at now in the lead, who incidentally are coming up to lap Michele Alboreto and Nelson Piquet, is a pretty remarkable sight. Look at what you're going to see here. That's quite a sight to see Ayrton Senna coming up to lap both of those drivers, keeping in mind that Piquet won the French Grand Prix, the last Grand Prix only 2 weeks ago, and that Alboreto is leading the World Championship right now.
Well, the positions you're talking about is the two leaders are actually lapping 4th and 5th place now. Patrese there in the Benetton car, Nelson Piquet in the Olivetti Brabham. God, you must be very careful when you try and lap Patrese, no matter where he's at.
Well, if you recall watching on ABC the coverage of the Monaco Grand Prix, Patrese came into contact with Nelson Piquet in a very profound way. Although Senna's now got past him comfortably, he's moved over for Alain Prost. He moved over completely and let him through, which is very nice. Patrese did see him in the mirror and behaved very well. But still, Ayrton Senna has gained a slight advantage by those maneuvers. But look how Prost has closed up since we joined after our last commercial. Now in the picture is Michele Alboreto driving car number 27, followed by Nelson Piquet of Brazil, another Brazilian driver, twice world champion. Looks like he's going to be put a lap down by his new young countryman.
And again, these drivers are battling for their positions, they're battling for their points, and they simply can't put themselves in a bad position to try and let the leaders by. Everyone doesn't want to hold up the leaders, but if it's going to cost them a half a second or a tenth of a second, they certainly don't mind to make it difficult for the leaders to go by, certainly at a time where there's no disadvantage to them. And also, these cars have equal power, so on the straightaways, a Ferrari or a Brabham may be even capable of pulling away from the leaders. Now, we really have a sandwich here for Ayrton Senna. He's got to watch his rearview mirrors. He has to protect the territory that he's claiming at the moment, but he cannot waste any time getting by twice world champion Nelson Piquet. There he goes on the brakes. Nelson didn't give him a lot of room, but still Ayrton got by. And now Prost wants to do just as clean of a maneuver. He's out. No. Nelson Piquet shuts the door on Alain Prost. Again, he can't really put himself at a disadvantage in his chase after Michele Alboreto. He's chasing Michele Alboreto just as hard as Alain Prost is chasing Ayrton Senna.
Alain Prost now, of course, he's a very mature driver now. He's a very clever driver. He's now really stalking one of the most mature and clever drivers in the business, however, who's Alain Prost. But look at this move here. Ayrton Senna gets past Alboreto. Well, Prost does not get past Piquet. So Piquet is in 6th position right now. Alboreto's in 5th position, and they are being lapped by the 1st and 2nd guys.
That's exactly what you did in '69. You and Jochen Rindt lapped 3rd place finisher Pierre Carré.
Now, we're going to see a pass right here. We're going to see a pass, and it's going to be Alain Prost who's going to go up on the right-hand side. But look, Piquet is trying to make an attempt to get over, but Prost has done it. A very clever move. He got out on the outside, got past. Piquet was a gentleman, led him through without any aggravation. Now, Prost will probably get past Alboreto under braking now into Cox Corner. He's through. Now he's back in business. So Alain Prost has got past the traffic. Ayrton Senna's ahead of him. Prost is in 2nd place. We'll be right with more coverage in just a few moments on ESPN. Back live at Silverstone. The man you're looking at the helmet is Andrea De Cesare. Until a few... No, that's Minardi. That's the Minardi. Somebody else has gone wide there coming on to Hangar Straight. It's Martini, and the Minardi has gone off wide there and got himself out of trouble. They're still the same leaders, but De Cesare has got himself from 4th position to the side of the pits with a blown engine. So So De Cesare is out. Too bad for him, but the battle for the lead does go on.
Of course, that bumps everyone up a position. That makes Alboreto happy. He wants those points. Now he's leading the World Championship. Nelson Piquet. Everyone moves up, and that puts Jacques Lafitte in the Ligier. His teammate, also on Pirelli tires, puts him up into 6th place with 1 point. Now Prost is right up Ayrton Senna's exhaust. Senna, a lot less experience, but the bravery and the heart of this man has been compared to that of several world champions in the past. But Prost has never, ever really been a foolish driver. He's always been a man who was very calculating throughout the entire race. And Prost knows that we're only a little bit beyond half distance here, and it's the first you must finish to finish first.
Well, we've completed 43 laps, in fact, of this race. There's 66 laps in total. Let me give you a rundown of the cars out of the race so far. Johansson's out with an accident. He's okay. Alio is out. Kinzani's out. Eddie Cheever, the American driver, is out. Patrick Tambay had a small accident along with Johansson. He's out, but he's okay. Fabi is out. Theo Fabi dropped out. Then Nigel Mansell's out, and Rosberg is out, of course, who led the race with engine trouble with Rosberg and clutch trouble with Mansell. Jonathan Palmer has dropped out as Ayrton Senna clips the curbs going round there. Elio De Angelis is back out on the racetrack, 30 laps behind everybody else. So he's not really in the race. They'll be doing a little testing. And the car that you saw flash on your picture on the left-hand side, sitting stationary at the side of the track a few moments ago, was that of Andrea De Cesare. All of these drivers out. A couple of incidents, nobody injured, a very clean race so far. And a very good race, too, it is, because this battle we're seeing for first and second is not playing games. We're at Silverstone, a disused airfield used in World War II as a bomber training airfield. And we'll be right back for more motor racing.
Well, it's a pleasure to be back with you all from Silverstone, England. Jackie Stewart and I just at about three-quarter distance in this race. And earlier we mentioned the Constructors' Championship, the Manufacturers' Championship. This is where they add the points together of both cars throughout the entire season for each team. And at the moment, Ferrari has 50 points. The John Player Team Lotus with 35. Marlboro McLaren, 29. The Williams team with the Honda Power is 23, Renault 13, and Brabham with only 2 results so far this year, a total of 10 points. So the Constructors' Championship, Jackie, is a little bit more widespread than the Drivers' Championship at this particular stage of the year.
Yes, certainly. Ferrari seems to have a healthy lead at this time. They've had good finishes, of course, each time with Johansson backing up Alboreto very well. This you see the leaders again, first and second, Alain Prost in that red and white car. You'll see there's no Marlboro identification on that car. There are a few races now in Europe where television insists that the name of the cigarette company must be obliterated from the side of the cars. They are not allowed to actually advertise on television the name of cigarettes. So you don't see any Marlboro name, and you don't see any John Player Special on the black car that would normally carry that identification. This will also be true in the German and the Austrian and the Dutch Grand Prix, which of course will be run quite soon here, and of course live coverage of those events once again on ESPN, bringing you to the United States of America, the World Championship Series of Driving live for each of those Grand Prix. Great coverage we hope you're enjoying. The BBC are supplying this feed to us around this Silverstone circuit, which is owned by the British Racing Drivers Club. Tremendously helpful. They've been so kind to us here. Silverstone, very efficient, beautifully turned out, and an enormous crowd here. I hope there's an enormous crowd watching us in the United States of America, because we'll be right back. That left rear tire that you see there, because it takes a lot more heat. Whereas on the other hand, Alain Prost started the race with 3 C's. That's to say the softest compound to get most grip. Now, if he has given them a hard time in his chase of Ayrton Senna, he could possibly have affected their grip and adhesion.
And you know, Jackie, the whole chassis, the aerodynamics, the engine, every bit of the design factors of this car only have one contact with the road, and that's where those 4 black patches meet the road. Now Ayrton Senna is coming up on the Barclay Arrows car, and actually Barclay Arrows is carrying an American sponsorship here, USF&G Financial Services. We're seeing more American companies into this program. Also, Jackie, just quickly about marketing. We're talking about marketing here a little bit. When they take the names off these cars, the design of the car is so close to that of the packaging of the product that they've done surveys at those racetracks where the name is not on the car, and after the race, between 70 and 75% of the people watching the race did not realize the name was not there. I mean, the Marlboro roof, what they call the roof, to the people here, that car is as much Marlboro with the name as without the name.
It is amazing, and of course it's, as you say, worked out very successfully for Philip Morris. They've been sponsoring Grand Prix racing for a good many years now, and are obviously in Europe seeing the benefits of it. They are not nearly as heavily involved in the United States as they are in Europe. So it's interesting that Marlboro have chosen this way on their international marketing platform, as of course as John Player's, and that's the colors of the John Player Special. It's the black cigarette pack, and that's the colors of Ayrton Senna's car right here. There are a lot of American companies, as you say, in Grand Prix racing today, with the Skoal Bandit people being in. As I said earlier, Martin Brundle was carrying Dow Chemicals on his uniform, which is new. And that's always nice to see new companies coming in. Later on in the year, Beatrice are coming in, and the Americans are taking a bigger interest in Grand Prix racing.
Well, of course, that's one of the reasons that our ESPN coverage has been extended to 14 live races, is because Formula One is becoming better known by the Yanks, and they seem to enjoy watching it on our program.
Well, there you see a beautiful shot from the Goodyear blimp high above this 3-mile racetrack as Ayrton Senna continues to lead this Marlboro British Grand Prix, and we'll be right back. Insurance brokers, and my goodness, did they nearly need insurance right there. Martin did not see Ayrton Senna, I am sure. Martin was concentrating on other things. Ayrton Senna came up behind him. He surely sees him now. Look at Martin's head cocking to the side, looking at the mirror, wondering which side Senna's going to go. He moves over. Senna takes it at the end of Hangar Straight, drops it into 4th gear, now accelerates away cleanly towards Club Corner, and certainly in that little bit of moving around there, Alain Prost will have got a little closer to Ayrton Senna. But it does seem to us, in our commentary position here, that Senna has a little more control of his race than he had a few laps back. We've just been confirmed that Keke Rosberg, in fact, had engine trouble. De Cesaris had clutch trouble. Fabi had engine trouble, and Winkelhock also had engine trouble. And
let's see if Prost gets by the Tyrrell also. We don't want Prost being held up. Yes, he did. He made it through on a very clean pass. I think Martin was probably looking in his mirrors maybe a little bit more intensely after that situation earlier. We mentioned that the senior Cheever, Eddie Cheever, was out of the Formula One race, but it was good news for Ross Cheever this afternoon in the Formula 3 race. Qualified 5th and came in 4th. He wasn't happy, actually, with his performance relative to the engine speed here at the high-speed track of Silverstone. But still, for Mama Cheever back in Arizona, it's good news on son Ross. He did a very fine job of representing the American flag in the Formula 3 event.
Well, the news is, not in our picture right now, but Nelson Piquet is dropping back. He's in 5th position and he's losing ground. Alboreto still 4th, Jack Lafitte is 5th, and of course Niki Lauda is still in 3rd position, incidentally. We were talking about engine power earlier, and we look down and we see Ayrton Senna there. He's got the Renault engine. I was going around this morning asking how many of those engines are around. Now, of course, Renault have a few teams they supply to. They supply to, of course, Lotus, as you can see, as well as the Renault factory team. They supply to Ligier, they supply to Tyrrell. They've got 80 current Grand Prix engines that they have actually manufactured that are current. Then after that, BMW are the next up, and they have, of course, the Arrows team and the Brabham team. They've got 60 engines in total. Surprisingly, next up is the Hart engine, which goes in Theo Fabi's Benetton sponsored car. That's the Tom, and it's got 32 engines. Tag have 30. The car of Alain Prost has got a Tag engine in it. They've got 30 current engines. Ferrari have 20. Honda, by the way, had 21 until today, but they've blown one of them, so maybe there's one less now, but they had 21. And the least number of engines was that of the Manerdi, Motor Manerdi, which is, of course, Martini's car. A small number of engines, only 4 ever been made. That gives you an idea of the number of engines. But think back a few years. The Cosworth engine, the Ford Cosworth engine that used to dominate Grand Prix racing, had 375 of those engines made. Jacques Lafitte's in your picture, driving the Ligier, and he is stalking Nelson Piquet. Piquet's in trouble. Whether it's his Pirelli tires that are going off form, whether his engine is going off form, who knows? But he is dropping back. Martin Brundle, incidentally, we saw him a little while ago. He's up into 10th position right now. The order as we have it is Senna, Prost, Lauda, Alboreto in those positions. We've got a battle going on after that, and of course it is Nelson Piquet who should normally, and he is in 5th position, but Jacques Lafitte is catching him up very rapidly. We could easily see ourselves in a position where Jacques Lafitte could get past Nelson Piquet and steal 5th position from him.
Well, it's an interesting battle because both of those cars are on the same Pirelli-type tires. Jackie, just quickly, when you said Renault has 80 engines here, let's say those are $75,000 apiece. That's $6 million worth of engines that they are using. And there goes Jacques Lafitte, quite easily, actually, past Nelson Piquet. He really didn't block him in any way whatsoever.
And we go back to our leaders again. Ayrton Senna, and something's wrong with Senna. Something's happened.
Definitely.
He's blown. He's gone. He's had engine trouble. He backed off completely. And Alain Prost, he is now in 1st position. Alain Prost takes the lead of the Marlboro British Grand Prix. Now, did Senna miss a gear change? Did he jump out of gear? Did he have a mechanical? Because he's come back. He hasn't disappeared for the day, everybody. Don't go changing channels on us now, because you're going to see another motor race start up. It did seem to me that he either jumped out of gear or lost a gear, and it will now remain to be seen what Ayrton Senna can do with Alain Prost.
Well, there's certainly no smoke coming out of the engine, Jackie. On a full lap, if it is a recurring problem, we'll see him lose ground again in the same place. Let's say 4th gear is gone or so, or something like that. But right at the moment there, he is falling out of the picture again, but still, he looks, motor-wise, he looks strong to me. He may have a different problem.
No, I think he may have missed a gear. I would say that he might have missed a gear. Now, if that be the case, it will take him a lap or two to get himself back into his timing again, to get his stroke back. Now, look at this. This is a real race, because that's Niki Lauda that was going slowly. Suddenly, Niki Lauda has been passed also. He's been passed by Sura. That's Niki Lauda directly ahead of Alain Prost. And Niki Lauda was in 3rd position. He's in trouble. He's in trouble. And there you see this race going on. Look how close Senna is now to Alain Prost. Can he duck in now on the entrance to Beckett? He's done it. He ducked in. We've missed it. They've been looking at Alain. They've been looking, and we've missed it again.
Here they come.
No, he's still behind.
Patrese?
Now they're coming up behind Patrese once again. Patrese in the Benetton green car. He moves right over. Patrese's got a new lease of life.
He must have heard your commentary up here on the first incident, Jackie.
Well, Riccardo Patrese is not the easiest man to pass, but look what's happening now. And he's passed. Senna's passed again. What a battle this is. Ayrton Senna has taken the lead. While he got past Patrese there, he ducked inside at Abbey Curve, and now he kept the lead. But look at this. Alain Prost is again passing him. I tell you this, Ayrton Senna is having gearbox selection troubles, and this is supplying us with a wonderful TV show.
And Mark Surer, only in his beginning drives with Brabham, Mark Surer certainly has his mirrors full of the 1st and 2nd place here, but Senna, here we see it on replay. Senna in perfect passing position. There's certainly nothing wrong with his brakes, Jackie, in this particular shot, but there it is under acceleration.
Braking to the Woodcote chicane, in fact. Or rather, down into one of the corners there, the wide corners. But something is wrong with Senna's car. He's definitely, it seems to me, and look how he's dropped back now. He's out of the picture. He's gone. He's even been passed by Patrese. And there is Sura chopping off our leader, Alain Prost. Mark Surer thinks it's Niki Lauda because he just passed Niki Lauda and he thinks it's still Niki Lauda. He's looking in his mirror with all the vibration. You can't see the driver's helmet at times, so he thinks it's Lauda. Now Prost, leading this race, goes past Berger in the bell-off in the Tyrrell, gets up behind the Olivetti car, and Ayrton Senna's going very slowly past the pit. Very slowly, Ayrton Senna is going past the pit, almost coming to a stop in front of his own pit, and there you see it on our television screens. We were high above it here, we could see it. A disappointed man. Yet again, he's not going to finish a Grand Prix. He's going to pull off the racetrack. He has led this race comfortably. He's going to get out. He has only finished one Grand Prix this year, the one he won in Portugal that we saw live on ESPN. And that's the end of the day for him. So he parks behind the Cesare Ligier as he goes back. So we're live at the British Grand Prix. Alain Prost is leading it, and we'll be back in a moment. This is Jackie Stewart along with John Bisignano in a very exciting Marlborough British Grand Prix that's taking place live right now as you watch it. The leader is Alain Prost. Now in second place is Michele Alboreto, the present leader in the World Championship going into this race, and third, remarkably, is Jacques Laffite driving the Ligier with a Renault engine. A big turnaround. Ayrton Senna has dropped out of this race. It looked to me like it was transmission trouble. It could have been an electrical problem with the engine cutting out, but it certainly grew on him because he did get past, then he recovered, and again he ran into trouble. The order as we see it right now is Alain Prost is first, Michele Alboreto is second, Laffite is third, Nelson Piquet has now got back into fourth position, in fifth position is Warwick, and in sixth position is Mark Surer, the young Swiss driver driving the second Brabham. And there is a car parked on the left-hand side of Abbey Curve there that looks like one of the Barclay Arrows cars. The cars you're seeing in your picture right now, that is Derek Warwick in the Renault going out of the picture with Alain Prost coming into it. So Alain Prost, who has won 18 Grand Prix in his life, looks like he's going to win his 19th, which indeed would be quite a great total to get. He swore he's going to beat my total of 27 Grand Prix victories, and it looks like he's going to do it if he carries on like this. The tag team have done amazingly well. Now I'll give you a little more information on the tag team when we come back for continuing live coverage of the British Grand Prix. Coverage on behalf of ESPN from the Silverstone circuit in the Midlands of England. Alain Prost continues to lead this Grand Prix. Alain Prost, the car you're looking at right now with the tag McLaren with the Philip Morris and it's just had the checkered flag. The checkered flag has just flown for those two drivers. They caught us by surprise coming out of our commercial. We thought there was one more lap to go. I'm looking over at the BBC commentary position. They thought there was one more lap to go also. And we are being given the checkered flag, ladies and gentlemen, so we must acknowledge that Alain Prost has just won the Marlborough British Grand Prix. Alain Prost bringing his... Since then, they've gone from strength to strength. They've had a lot of help from a lot of companies around the world, and there you see Mark Surer, who is tucked in there, and he's finished fifth in this race, which must make him very happy. So he's following round here. The crowd in Silverstone a little bewildered. Alain Prost is continuing round because he thought there was another lap to go. Indeed, he is continuing round one lap. That is why we were confused, ladies and gentlemen, as also as the McLaren team, as also as everybody else, because here I see Derek Warwick coming round. Everybody is doing an extra lap. They're wondering what it's all about.
Derek Warwick is actually coasting across the line. We've seen that a few times this year, Jackie.
Well, he's stopping now. He's got his arms out. In fact, he seems to be getting out before the car even stops. So this is slightly confusing to all of us, but nevertheless, the race is over. And another victory, and we've got the order of finish. I'll just read that out to you. First, Alain Prost. Michele Alboreto in the Ferrari is second. Jacques Lafitte, a wonderful finish for Jacques Lafitte in third place. Nelson Piquet is fourth. Mark Schurer is fifth. Martin Brundle gets into the points and finishes in sixth position, we are told. And there's some speculation about that. We have been given this information by Olivetti and Longines, and we'll be getting back to you to give you all of the finishing orders after this upcoming commercial, and we'll be right back. This is Jackie Stewart along with John Bisignano, and the Grand Prix of Great Britain has finished with a little bit of confusion. There is an opinion that the checkered flag was given one lap in advance of what it should have been, and there we see a finishing order that has been given to us officially at this present time, but we have a different finishing order as we see cars being retrieved from all over the farmyard down here. We have Alain Prost winning this race. We have Jacques Lafitte, Michele Alboreto, one lap behind, finishing second. In third position, we have Jacques Lafitte. In fourth position, we have Nelson Piquet. In fifth position, we have Mark Schurer. In sixth position, we have Derek Warwick. In seventh position, we have Martin Brundle. In eighth, Berger. In ninth, Patrese. And in 10th, Beloff. Now, there is some speculation about the finishing order. The computer that we were being fed the information by has suddenly found itself out of tune. It is not displaying any of the information to us at the present time, so we are giving you an unofficial order of finish by our lap charters here in our commentary position. It has surely been an exciting Grand Prix. We're going to have more information, and when we come back from that commercial, we'll have it.
35 points, Michele Alboreto 37 points, Alain Prost 35 points, Elio Di Angelo scoring no...
Thoughts, huh? Jackie Stewart along with John Bisignano at the end of the Grand Prix of Britain. The official results being flashed up on your screen there now as the presentation of prizes is just about to be made by two members of the royal family here in Britain, His Royal Highness the Duke of Kent and His Royal Highness Prince Michael of Kent, as they prepare to hand that trophy over to Alain Prost. John, your final thoughts on this British Grand Prix, a very active one.
Again, it's Ayrton Senna leading. He must be the Formula One driver to lead more F1 races with less results halfway through the season as in history. There we have the World Championship points. Michele Alboreto 37, Prost 35, and actually, Jackie, people in contention never scored any more points today except good old Nelson Piquet. He moved up a few steps, but still, it was Ayrton Senna's race. I was amazed that the Renault was not more reliable today with both cars, actually.
Well, I have to agree that Ayrton Senna deserved to win this race. Keke Rosberg did a very good job early on. Nelson Piquet somehow or other didn't really come up to scratch. We didn't expect him to do quite this badly. I expected better. Goodyear have come back and have won this Grand Prix, which of course will please them greatly. But I'd say the man of the race was Ayrton Senna. However, one's got to take one hat off to Alain Prost because he drove a very determined race, and after all, the TAG McLaren team put together a winning combination. The British Grand Prix has been brought to you by Chevrolet, who invite you to see today's Chevy, drive today's Chevy, live today's Chevy, and by Rust-Oleum Paint and new Rust-Oleum Auto Care products. Nobody fights rust like Rust-Oleum, and by BF Goodrich, makers of high-performance TA radios. We make cars perform. Well, of course, we've got more Grand Prix racing coming up to you. The next Grand Prix that we'll be covering live here on ESPN will be the German Grand Prix from Hockenheim. It'll be live, as usual, 8:30 this time, and Eastern Time on August the 4th. So please join us on that occasion. Now, more race coverage for you. We'll have the NASCAR race, the Summer 500, today at Pocono. It's live today at 1 p.m. Eastern Time.